All right, so we are SwickTech. My name is Eric Clark. I am one of our business development associates here at the company. And yep, there goes my computer. 1 second while it reshuffles my screens. My docking station is not behaving very well today, so I do apologize as I grapple to get my bearings with the computer. And then just let me know, Sophie or Jennifer, if everything is looking okay. I apologize.
Everything is looking okay, Eric, and it's been quite a foobar of series of events for both of us today. So welcome, everybody.
Yeah. Okay. My computer reshuffled. We're good for like maybe another couple minutes. And then when I hand it off to you, I want to worry about it. So SwickTech, for those that don't know, we're located in New Berlin, Wisconsin. A lot of the folks that are in attendance, I believe, are actually local to the Wisconsin kind of, Milwaukee metro market. Some folks that are attending elsewhere, it's good to know maybe where we are. We were founded in 2004 by Gary Swick and Isaac Montegudo. Gary just retired as of January this year, so good for him. He's out golfing or riding his bike, or riding his bike to go golf. One of those things, I'm sure. And SwickTech, for those that don't know, we believe all companies have the potential to grow when they embrace evolving technology and an IT team who puts the relationship and the future first. So we never want to sacrifice things like cost for future's sake. We want to keep growing and looking to the future and doing best practices. Cybersecurity is deeply intertwined in our DNA. It is all that we're focused on and doing. And additionally, we have since we've been in business in 2004, we have lost 0 bytes of data for our clients. That's something that we're very, very proud of. And something that I don't know that every company in our position can say. And beyond that, we have world-class customer service through something that we use called Net Promoter Score, or NPS, as some might be familiar. With that all said, we're a managed service provider. Like I said, we do a lot with IT security right now in the cyberspace. So we're doing a lot with CMMC, which has to do with a lot of what's going on with the Department of Defense. If you're in that supply chain, we can certainly help you. We can act as your IT department or supplement or complement that. We have a lot of really talented individuals on our team to help. As we march forward here in the slide deck, who we're joined with today is none other than Jennifer Bucholtz. She is the CEO of Excel and Flourish. She's a best-selling author, entrepreneur, productivity coach. She has worked in higher education, training, and development for over 20 years. And when she realized that traditional methods weren't helping her students thrive, she founded the business Excel and Flourish. It's based out of Milwaukee. She helps organizations and teams improve productivity and reduce frustration with Microsoft products. I can attest to this because she's helped a lot of our clients, and she's done a number of these events with us. So the result of having gone through some of her stuff is you're going to feel amped up about what you're doing. You're going to be able to collaborate effectively, have more success across every aspect of your business and work. She's also an award-winning connector who consistently goes out of her way to help others succeed. I've, again, witnessed this firsthand. So I could probably ramble on some more. There's a couple more blurbs here, Jennifer, but I don't want to make you blush too much. So if you want to go ahead and take over from here, I'd be happy to let you go on.
Sounds great, Eric. Thank you so much. And thank you, SwickTech, for having me. My name is Jennifer Bucholtz. Company is Excel and Flourish, and we're here to have some fun in Microsoft 365. So I'm going to start by sharing my screen, make sure we've got all the right stuff up on the screen, and then we're going to dig right in. All right, to reset everything the way I like it on my multiple screens as well. I know many of you can relate to that. And okay, here we go. So please feel free as we're going along to pop any of your questions into the Q&A. I am keeping my eye on it, as are Eric and our producer, Sophie. So no questions should really go unanswered if they're aligned with our topics today. And honestly, if you have an idea of one thing that you're hoping to get away from our session based on what we shared we'd be covering, please don't hesitate to share that. Put that in chat. And actually, I'm going to post in chat the topics that we had kind of committed to covering today, just so that you're seeing what we could possibly do. All right, so here we go. Have you ever been in a situation when you're in the middle of 14 different things at the same time, and your screen might look like this a little bit, and you might have 7 different tabs open in, or 7 or more, 70 for some people, you might have 70 different tabs available in your browser, and somebody comes knocking on your door or giving you a call or sending you a message, and you completely have to shift gears? Well, this isn't Microsoft 365. It's a Windows 10 pro tip that I want to share with you today. because I don't think everybody realizes this little task view icon at the bottom of the screen actually gives you the opportunity to have another desktop open. Imagine that you could actually start clean and fresh, no icons, no mess, and you could bring up just what you need to handle that particular situation, that particular question, that particular issue. And so you can open up, OneNote, you can open up the browser, brand new browser session happening, all of those things that you need to do to solve that one issue. And then, wait for it, go right back to where you left everything when you got interrupted. So I'd love for anybody to give me some sort of feedback on whether you like that idea or not. So I love this idea. In Windows 10, they actually have the ability for you to have like 12 desktops. But again, it was kind of a best kept secret, and not everybody realized that this was something that they could use. So I thought, okay, let's see how important this is to happen for Windows 11, which is coming anytime soon. And I'm just going to drop a link in the announcements and question and answer area that gives you the rundown on how it's going to happen in Windows 11. Same type of thing, but better. One of the things that you're going to be able to do is actually rename the desktop. And I don't know about you, but if I'm working on certain projects and I am trying to track my time of how much time I'm spending on that project, to have a desktop with all the things open dedicated to that particular project, that would be a huge time saver for a massive multitasker like I am. So again, just kind of giving you a preview, getting people excited about one of the cool features coming with Windows 11, even though that is not Microsoft 365.
So instead of having a number of tabs open, how many desktops do you have open?
Shh, Eric,
okay.
That is not fair. That is not fair. But just think about, like, again, I would much rather get all my things set up in that one space, especially if I'm starting to embark on a research project. Like I'm researching a new class that I want to share right now. And so that takes up all this different browser space. And I just want to be able to like shift gears, go to it, and not have to lose my place every dang time. So I'm hoping others are like me in that effect as well. I don't know, Eric, you got a lot going on yourself. I'm guessing that this could be an issue that you face.
No, I'd said that's incredible, seriously, because I'm not just being some cheesy moderator saying that's incredible, but I'll make really good use of that. I did not know that. I'm really happy to see this. I'm going to learn so much today. Thank you.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, good. Okay. So the next topic we're going to dig into goes more into this whole meeting situation. And by the way, you're going to see my screens look a little different. I've set up about 5 different fake environments set up so that I can easily navigate between them for the things that I want to demonstrate today. So don't think you're seeing things as I switch screens really quickly. They're just preset for what I'm trying to get to. All right, next scenario. Has there ever been a time where you've been in this long back and forth with either an individual or a group of people, and maybe there's been 15 messages sent in rapid fire succession to try and resolve a particular issue? That is the time to stop. Just stop. And what I mean is, rather than continuing on with all of those email messages, it's time to meet. But sometimes if you go to just do a meeting, you lose that whole chain of email messages. So starting point, we're going to click over here to reply with meeting. Now, when my menu was collapsed, you might not have seen that in the collapsed menu. But when I expand the menu, right here in this whole respond area is a reply with meeting. And what that does is it takes your long email with all sorts of stuff that we've been going back and forth on 15 times, and it changes it into a meeting invitation. So now you can dig right in, turn it into a Teams meeting, ready, set, go, and the meeting is scheduled, and no more emails back and forth. So if we want to stop that back and forth, use reply with meeting. Eric, have you used that one before?
Nope, but I feel like the way I've dealt with that is very cumbersome. Similar output, but I would save the email chain to like my desktop, which is like when I was in no man's land, right? And then I would attach it to the meeting, which took a lot more steps. So the effect similar, not the same, but then people are like, what are we meeting about? Oh, did you open the email attachment? No, I didn't see that yet. this puts it front and center. I like what you're showing here.
Exactly. And just so you know, just in case you were doing this kind of idea of like save as and trying to put the message out onto your desktop, if you ever needed to do that, one moment, please, let me do that correctly. You also can just drag and drop a message to your desktop if you needed to.
I didn't know that.
There you go. See, I'm here for you, man. And this is why you have, so
no wonder you're so efficient. You have all these things.
Well, part of it is like, I'm just not afraid to click something. Like I usually have a backup going on, but I'm not afraid to just click it and see if that does what I want it to do. Okay, so what if instead I have Lynn and Lydia here as my personas? What if instead we needed to get this meeting scheduled, but we needed to find a good time to meet? This is especially important when you're trying to meet with externals. Now, some of you may have used an external tool called Doodle, which is a really great tool. It's external, but it's a really great tool for finding a common time to meet. Well, there is one built into Microsoft if you use your add-ins. So I'm going to take you through that process real quick because I want you to get used to clicking around to see where you can find your add-ins. So this little guy over here, I clicked it, so I'll go again. Under the Home tab, all the way over to the right, is Get Add-ins. The particular one you're looking for in this case is called Find Time, because you want to find a time to meet. I wish I could find more time in my day. That's not what this will do for you. So we add this in, and it'll take a second. And once you've added it, it's always added in, so you don't have to do anything else. Now, instead of replying with meeting, I'm going to reply to Lynn and say, pick a time that works for you. And when you're in your message, you're going to have this new Find Time option over to the right. And it's called creating a meeting poll. So creating a meeting poll is very similar, again, to this idea of Doodle. But what it saves you guys is the back and forth. I can do this day. I can do this day. I can do this day. Bleh. Hate that stuff. So instead, what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, I'm free at these 4 times on the 30th and on the 1st, and it's already looking at my availability. It's tied right into my Outlook calendar. So I'm going to just select all the times I have available. This is set up to be a 30-minute meeting. It's also looking at it during work hours. So once you've selected all the times that you want, and this gives 9 different options, you can see that lined up below, hit next. And then there's a few other things you can include in here. By default, it would be a Teams meeting. By default, it would be a Teams meeting. You can, let me turn off notifications there. You can also get notifications on poll updates. So you can do this for multiple people as well, rather than just sending it to one single person. And then when all of the people respond, it would schedule the meeting. It will automatically schedule the meeting when everybody responds and reaches consensus. It holds time on your calendar, and there's more features you can have in there. So you hit add to email, and this is what it looks like in your email. Okay, so what's going to happen is I'm going to just send this over to Lydia. Okay, and we're going to give it's almost like on a cooking show, when you like have the magic of those cooking ovens. Eric, do you ever watch those cooking shows?
Yeah, I've seen some of I like the baking ones, or like the Great German Bakery. Yeah, whatever.
The Great British Bake Off. I
That's
think
one. Yeah.
Starting soon. Very good. You're a new dad. You can't know all those things right now. Let's be real.
But I have a question about this. I got to experience this when we were coordinating times to go through this process of setting up this webinar. Yes. And I was very smitten by it. I was like, wow, this is incredible. These are the types of things that she's going to show us how to do that we're not using. But I use bookings for external stuff. And that's like a one-to-one because it's my calendar. This polling idea that you're showing here, that's a bit different. So I hope I'm not like jumping too far ahead. But bookings is very similar to Calendly. Where do those two overlap? Is there any overlap between these two things?
So I look at those as really different products. And one thing that I like to make sure to note is that you, my dear friend, may have a certain license that not everybody has. So the bookings application is available in this particular license, but it's not in all licenses.
Okay.
So And I'll share with you guys how to find whether you have it or not shortly as well. So I'm going to keep going with this, and then we'll talk a little bit more about bookings as well. Good catch on that. So here's the thing with this. Now, Lydia sent it to Lynn. I'm in Lynn's account right now. So this is the receiver's experience. The receiver is going to click on the link, and you have to select who you are. And then you can actually say, do you prefer a certain time? Do you want to say yes, no, and you can go through and select the times and then actually put a preference in on one that you really would like that to be. Now, before I vote, because it's going to happen really fast, I want to show you back on the other person, the originating person, what that looks like on their calendar. So this is what it looks like on the calendar, where it's actually holding the times that I had indicated I was available. Is held as a tentative. So what I personally like to do is, if I'm trying to schedule a whole bunch of meetings back to back and I've given like 15 different options, I use those same 15 different options to give to like 5 different people. And then whoever responds first gets that spot, and then I make that not available for the others. So I don't try to give a lot of other people. And Eric, that's actually where bookings might save a little time on that as well. So there's some options there. All right, I'm going to hit vote.
It's good to know that holds a spot, because I don't know how many times we've done back and forth without this feature, and we've given a lot of different times to different people, and other folks in our organization aren't even aware of those times. So then someone else books it first, and you have to go back and go, oh, well, that time's no longer available. So it gets, there's a lot of ping pong there for sure that you're eliminating.
Exactly. And we want to avoid, I mean, nobody has time for that part of it for sure. So I'm going to minimize that part of the screen, and you're going to see, as the person who voted, now all of a sudden I got the calendar invite. That's how quickly that happens, because it was just going back and forth between 2 people. You got the time that you preferred to meet, and you just need to accept that invite. As the person who sent the message, do a quick refresh there. As the person who sent the message, it hasn't reverbed back into that yet, but it also, I believe, scheduled it right away on. Here we go. It just came back through. The message says your poll. Okay, it first says who's voted. So if you would have multiple people voting, it would show who did what vote, and it has the indicator of the preference. And then it sends the invite saying, hey, we've scheduled the meeting based on the results of the poll. And then that lands on your calendar. So there's a couple emails saying, hey, this progress has been happening, but it lands on the calendar, and all those holds then disappear, and you just have the one stick.
And does that book it on the voter's calendar also? So if I'm the one that said, I prefer this time, it's going to put it on my calendar as well.
So what it does is it sends an invite to the voter, and they still do have to accept the invite. But it goes both ways. So again, it just really automates all that messy back and forth at the end of that.
Sounds good. Carrie, looks like in the comments here had a question, had asked, if we hold meetings in Zoom rather than Teams, can we still use this add-on to poll people for a time that works, or does it have to be Teams?
No, you 100% can use the add-in. So if we were doing it, my goodness, it's so different when you're not working on your own machine, isn't it? Let me try and do it.
You're doing a great job.
All right. And we didn't add it in on this one. Sorry, I was working in the one that we didn't have the find time add-in. So here we go. We're going to do a new email. We're going to do a new meeting poll. And then as you find those times, of course, it's trying to look to see if there's anybody that it can look at the calendar for. That's why I wanted people first. Pick a couple times. When you go to that next part, you can uncheck the Teams meeting, and you could even just put in there Zoom and say in the message, I would say once the meeting has been confirmed, that you're going to update the invitation with the Zoom link, and there's no problem doing that. Great question.
So just a touch more manual, something you're gonna have to not forget to
Yep.
do. But if that's a preference, then that is a workable solution.
And to say Zoom send link, right? Like so that it actually says it in there as the location. So you remember to send the link. I always like to give myself visual cues so I don't assume that I did something when I maybe didn't. Now,
I always have the thing where it's like, did you send this invite or did I? Is it my Zoom or is it your Zoom? Or is it...
Right? All the things, all the things. Now, let's talk about meetings once more. I want to stay on the meetings topic for one more time. Eric, if you have to take notes for a meeting, where are you taking your notes?
Oh gosh, this has become a real serious problem because it seems like maybe 2 to 3 years ago, as a collective, we were all very good at taking notes in OneNote. And then like OneNote became part of Teams, but no one really ever used it that way. I've been taking notes in like Notepad, which probably shouldn't be a thing.
What is Notepad, dude? Like, wasn't that like
it's
in the original output of
bad.
Windows, like Windows 3.1?
Yeah, and then sometimes we'll take them in the actual to-dos, which I actually appreciate because if I have a task I'm going to do and I'm linking to a thing or a file or folder, if the notes live right there, it's very helpful.
Okay, I'm with you on some of that. So there's a couple words of caution that I want to make sure to use because of how Microsoft has made this part particularly confusing. If you open up, so I just opened up that invitation to the long email sample that I'd sent over. If you open up the invitation, you're going to see an option to go right here to OneNote for meeting notes. And by default, if you're doing that there, it's going to be shared. Going to be shared between these two people. And so that's lovely. That's an easy place to go do that. And it just kind of keeps things very consistent. So I'm going to open it up in OneNote real quick here, just as an example. So guess what? When I went to it from the meeting itself, it populated all the stuff about our long email meeting. Okay, so it already pre-populates them. The link to the Outlook item is there. I mean, it's beautiful. So if you're really good about putting agendas in your meeting invitations, then that's going to pre-populate over here as well. However, we try to trick you sometimes. So let me show you the downside. If, however, you jump in and join the Teams meeting, and because I'm in a demo environment, none of this stuff is going to work right now, but it'll give me what I need to demonstrate this particular feature for you. If you're in a Teams meeting and you go over to your meeting notes within the application, this is not OneNote. This is a wiki. It's thinking about it. It's adding it. There we go. So now it turned it into a group chat with a meeting notes tab at the top in Teams. So that all happened automatically behind the scenes. However, Eric, do you know why I'm going to say never, ever, 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 ever use a wiki to capture your notes?
Oh, I want to hear why.
It's not searchable.
Interesting.
Terrible, bad, horrible. None of the wiki stuff in Teams is searchable.
Is there a good use case for it? Man, the search feature in Teams is so strong. I'm surprised. I don't know how they've disconnected these things. And
such a mess.
So then I have a question for you. And if you don't have the answer, I feel bad because this is on the fly. But when you're creating that OneNote, how are you keeping your OneNote clean and organized for ad hoc meeting notes that are popping up on long email threads? Like, where are you storing that stuff, or how is it? Is there any best practice you have there?
Get into that for you. So there's a couple things. So by default, these are going to land under quick notes. And so that's not a really great place for organization. And that's only because I haven't set up something specific for like an ongoing team and things like that. But what I will say is, like I said, I really love having that message. Everything about it lands right in here. The way that I like to use OneNote for some of this stuff is to use the tags in OneNote. And not everybody knows the super secret to-do tag in OneNote. actually, it doesn't tie into Microsoft To-Dos or your tasks, but it can be summarized. So I'm going to say that we need Eric to take notes. Okay, and it gets really a little bit punky because right now we're in the, so many versions of OneNote right now. That's why I'm getting a little wonky on it. Let's see.
This looks like the browser version of OneNote.
I know.
Which feels different than the desktop version.
I know. And that's the issue. So here's the bigger challenge is right now, the trick with OneNote is that, yep, your default version of OneNote is OneNote for Windows 10. If instead, and I'll type it up here just so you can see it, if you want the full-blown robust version of OneNote, you're actually trying to look for OneNote 2016. That's the latest time that they updated it. And it's still one of the more robust versions for this stuff because there's actually a feature in there that will do a summary of all of your tags and put them out there. Like you could show all of your to-dos in one screen. So I know we could spend a lot more time digging into even just OneNote, but that's the biggest challenge right now is figuring out then what is your structure for organizing that stuff to make sure that it's easy for everybody to come back to.
Yeah, they should call OneNote like Allnote because they all live there, not just one of them. But I will add that 2016 version is very robust. I had a different thought around that, and I think it just escaped my mind. But I'm glad that you showed those differences because it could look really confusing because they do look different. So it's important to call that out.
Well, and again, like from OneNote, you could share the meeting notes. From the wiki, you can't.
Okay.
So it's so frustrating. By the way, since we're in here, I will do one pro tip. Will it give it to me? It might not give me, might not recognize it doesn't recognize the microphone in this fake setup. But one of the very cool features, you guys, of OneNote is, and this is in the Windows 10 version. I do keep both versions available. That's just, I piggyback between both of them. There's a dictate feature, and it's really robust. So if you're on your phone and you just want to like get some notes down, using the OneNote dictate is a voice to text dictation tool.
That's fantastic. I remember I was going to say, fun fact, SwickTech has officially, according to Microsoft, the largest OneNote ever. So I don't know if that's good or bad.
Okay, but now you said like you guys aren't using it as much. So what's the deal, man?
We're not using it in the same way.
Okay.
We still use it for how we document everything, but just for like meetings and things like that, it's shifted a little bit. So how we're doing it.
OneNote ever. That's fascinating. I want to know so
OneNote.
Yeah, that's pretty great.
A big knowledge base, yeah, in IT.
Pretty great. I love it. Okay, cool. Again, I could spend a lot of time in OneNote, but just for the sake of giving you some other things that I want to share with you, we're going to move on to another screen that I have set up for this next. Oh, we have a new question? Did we just get a new question? No, sorry.
No, I think that's a little old. That's okay.
Sorry. So many things going on my screen. Here we go. Let's keep it moving. So one of the things that we talk about a lot about, like, why is Microsoft 365 so amazing? It's because we have all of these tools available to us that most people do not even know. So the place to go to find all of this out is at office.com. Office.com. When you go there, you will need to use whatever your login credentials are, and that will bring you to this nice little screen trying to say, like, hey, these are things that you should care about in your recent documents and shared documents and all that stuff. That's not what I want you to look at right now. I want you to go over to the left-hand menu, and in the bottom left corner, click to all apps. Because there's like 27 different applications as a general standard within your Microsoft 365 subscription. How many do you use regularly? And Eric, that's not a question for you. That's more of a rhetorical question because I know that you're actually a power user. But let's talk through what some of these are. So bookings, we'll come back to bookings since it's at the top of the list. Bookings is like a tool like Calendly. It's a tool like Time Trade. Acuity has a scheduling tool built in. The idea of that is that you're opening up time on your calendar, or within a time, within your free time on your calendar, that people can book time on your calendar. And a lot of people just either send the link as they want people to schedule with them, or they have it in their signature saying, hey, do you want to get 10 minutes with me or something like that? You can use this. Eric, how are you using it?
So a couple different ways. So at least at SwickTech, I do feel free to book time on my calendar, and then I hyperlink the word calendar when I send out to new prospects so they can book time on my calendar for a meeting. I've seen others use it in their Google My Business listing. So you can book time right from a Gmail, or a Google search. Which is, I think, really powerful. And then additionally, I use it in another context for podcasting. So if you want to book a podcast, I have a lot of automation built into, here's a follow-up, here's the booking, here's the location that's saved for the calendar event, here's a follow-up, please leave me a review and a referral. So there's quite a few applications where you can really crank this thing up to make your life a lot easier and far more productive.
Yep, I don't disagree with that. The main thing I'm running into is that just not everybody has this included with their license. So just something to kind of keep in mind with that. All right, calendar is just another app of a way to view your Outlook calendar. It is not a different application. This stuff is all tied together by your email address and credentials. Delve is some analytics that are being captured all the time in how you're using the Microsoft product line. So it'll actually show like what files you've gone into. It can look into your analytics. These are all tools that are happening behind the scenes, and just give some insights into, are you doing focus time? Are you doing collaboration time and things like that? So that's Delve. I'm going to come back over here. Of course, you know Excel, but this is going to give you the web version of Excel. So I'm going to take this as a moment to show the difference between the web version. And I'm going to start a new file right in here. The web version versus, of course, we all know, the desktop version of Excel. The desktop version will always be more robust. Whether you're talking Excel, Word, PowerPoint, whatever it is, even Outlook currently, the desktop version will be more robust. However, if you're on the go and you need to quickly review a file or open a file just to check something out, there is no reason why you can't use the mobile version. So the mobile version is going to be available on your phone as well as on a web browser. So it's literally, if you're going back to, I want to take you back to the all apps. If we go back to all of your applications, if you're on your phone and you log into office.com, or you have the Office app on your phone, that's really, you just need to download one app for it to be working on mobile. You will be able to open up the files based on your login credentials. You'll be able to open those up on your phone. So that's, again, it's there's a couple things, like, again, if I'm trying to do power work in Excel, I'm going to use the desktop version. The web version won't do macros. It's a little putzier in some cases, but one of the nice things is it's saving as you go. So it automatically saves as you go. And this is just named book right now, so I would want to, of course, change it. But otherwise, this is automatically saving as you go. And when you jump back into your office.com, and if we're at our home, you would see the new file right up here under all of your files, and that it was modified just recently. Eric, have you done a lot of using any of these mobile applications or web apps?
I'm trying to look at some of them, maybe a handful. I mean, SwickTech uses Power BI quite a bit. Obviously, we're in Teams. I do a bunch with PowerPoint for all the presentations we do. Whiteboard, something that I enjoy for collaboration in different meetings. So there's a number of things in here. Stream for, like, this video is going to go to stream when it's done.
There we go. Perfect. Those are all some great examples. So before Microsoft had their own Forms tool, a lot of people would get used to using Google Forms. Now Microsoft has their own Forms tool that feeds right into Excel. So if you're trying to do any surveys or questionnaires, that's a very simple tool to be able to use. again, right from here. Now, some of the tools that you're going to see listed here only have a web application. They do not have desktop applications. So some of these things are designed only to work on the web. Forms is one of those. Kazala is web chat. Again, there's some of these that you may not have available completely for everyone, or they haven't enabled them in your organization. They've separated out the SharePoint lists into its own product, and I'm seeing this being used in a very robust way where you can actually, if you're trying to do things with certain lists, say inventory or things like that, you can actually do that right in the Microsoft Lists product. And there's an advantage to doing it in its own product, because if you start to use any automations, having that tie right in directly to the list rather than through other tools can be really helpful. We looked at the My Analytics under Delve, so here they're just breaking that out. We're not going to spend a ton of time on OneDrive today. We talked a bit about OneNote and Outlook, but I do want to get to a couple things on SharePoint and Planner. So before I go too far, before I delve too deep in some of these other tools, let's talk about, Eric, how are you guys at SwickTech currently using SharePoint?
Heavily. We no longer have any sort of physical server presence. From a file sharing perspective, everything is in SharePoint. So I don't need to VPN into anything to access all the files that I need. It's just there on Teams or SharePoint or however I want to access it. It's very powerful in that perspective. And I know a traditional legacy SharePoint probably left quite a bad taste in a number of folks' mouths. It is now under the hood of Teams. So a lot of SharePoint instances are getting spun up magically by wizards at Microsoft without you needing to know what's going on. But if you dive in under the hood, this is what you're going to see. So we are big fans.
I love it. Thank you. And you touched on the part that I wanted to mention. This ain't your mama's old SharePoint, right? So many of us were used to these ugly, messy document receptacles that people would check stuff in and check stuff out, or wouldn't do that properly. And I've worked with a lot of organizations who just threw their hands up in the air and said, SharePoint is not, we can't. It's a hot mess, and we're not even going to bother with it anymore. So a lot of people were used to something looking like this in terms of a document repository. What is happening, as Eric did mention, is that every time, let me jump in here for a second. Every time a team and a team channel is created, a new SharePoint site is born. It's like an angel gets its wings almost. A new SharePoint site is born behind the scenes. And so how do you know that? Because you literally can see in any one of these file areas of any channel, you can see where it says open in SharePoint. And so that will actually show what that looks like behind the scenes. Not that you have to do a lot to know that, but I just want you to know, like, the whole point, well, one of the points of Teams, and especially the file sharing part of it, was to make the file sharing experience so much smoother than what people were used to when they were using SharePoint. And what I mean when I say this ain't your mama's SharePoint is that SharePoint has actually been redesigned, and the official word for this is modern SharePoint versus classic SharePoint. And the idea behind what modern SharePoint is it actually has building blocks involved that make it very easy to turn these sites into more than just a document receptacle. You can use certain widgets to pull in particular news or weather or things like that, and you can add your own material. So this becomes a really powerful intranet site if you chose to use it for that. So again, just as an example of what you can actually be doing in SharePoint now, and you don't have to be looking at something that looks like this or this. Okay, so I just want to inspire you guys to play a little bit with that. All right. I'm going to keep going and watching for questions, but please feel free if there are any questions. Now is a great time to ask. I have a few more things I want to make sure we're looking at. And the next part we're going to look at is actually along the lines of getting your stuff done. How do you know what to work on next, right? So some of us have gotten used to using tasks. Some of us have gotten used to using tasks in our Outlook. Okay. Eric, has that been a habit for using tasks, flagging your messages and using the task list in there?
Yeah, you probably shed me quite a bit, knowing how you operate, and I have not adopted a lot of, I should probably sit through more of your training so it really kind of gets soldered in my mind. But yeah, I flag emails. I love the green checkbox. That's how I know that things have been handled in my inbox. But yeah, if I go to the task view, then I can work through those tasks. But I also treat it differently, like, oh, I always want to see this email or have it readily available. So I'm using it two ways. The latter is probably not appropriate in some ways. And I know you're about to blow all of our minds, so.
I'm not going to should on you, because here's the thing. I've been hired by companies to help them get their emails in order. And oftentimes presidents of companies will say, I want everybody to do their email like I do my email. No, that is not real. Nobody's going to organize everybody's brain works differently. So here's the thing. If what you're doing is working for you, keep doing it. But if something's not working for you, then look at some other options. So one of the things that not everybody realizes is that when you flag a message, you actually could right click on that flag and put a real deadline on it, or a real tickler of when you want to get back to look at it. And if you do that, when you go over to your task list, it actually can organize those messages for you in terms of how you've just rated the urgency. Now, personally, when I teach overcoming inbox overwhelm, I add another feature to that, which is I like to use categories to talk about how important something is, how important it is. So if I use red, it means it's super important. And if I use orange, it's medium important. And if I use green, it means, well, it would be really great if I could get to it that day, but if it gets pushed, that is not a big issue, right? So I use a combination of urgency, importance with using categories and flags. However, for those of you who've never really embraced that task part of Outlook, I've got some other stuff to show you. And it comes from the web version of Outlook. So don't freak out, but things are coming to change. And I don't know how long that task area of Outlook is going to be there, because the future is called to do. Okay, let me get all of this stuff set up.
I already have 2 feet in that world, so it wouldn't be that earth shattering, but.
You can do it. So here's how it goes. You know, when you're in Outlook on the web, you're going to see the icon for your mail and for your calendar and for your contacts. You'll also see something for files, which that's relatively new. But this little blue check mark opens up a new application called Microsoft To Do. You do not have to navigate to it through Outlook. I'll show you where you can find it elsewhere. Sorry, let me come back over here. So here's what it's telling you. Tasks has a new look. It's powered by Microsoft To Do. It has lists you can share with others, and there is a mobile app for it. That was one of the biggest challenges, you guys, with tasks as they were in desktop Outlook, is that when you were on your mobile device, you couldn't change the dates of when things were due, and it just didn't interface as well for mobile. It's not what it was originally made for. So here, To Do is going to be the new place for this. So here's how To Do is organized. First of all, it'll look at anything that you had set up as a pure task. So a pure task would have been something like, back in my email, if I would have said call dentist. That's just a pure task. It never actually originated from an email. So that's what we mean by a pure task. All right, and let's see if it'll refresh and give it to me here. It might take a moment for that to connect, but that's what a pure task is. Next, and you can continue to add tasks here as well. So I'm going to say call vet. There we go. Call dentist just landed there as well. So it's synced up. Now we have flagged email. And what this can do is it can actually create tasks from your flagged messages. It's going to take a moment to do that. It will look at anything from Planner, Microsoft Planner, which we'll get to in a moment as well, that's been assigned to you, and that will show up here. So this is what it means by assigned to me. And it will look at anything that has a deadline, a due date, and that'll siphon up under planned. So the way that this is organized is on the bottom, it's all the stuff to do. So flagged messages, tasks, and what's been assigned to you in Planner. Planned, important, and my day, how you are prioritizing to get the stuff done. So under planned, you'll see all the stuff with the deadline. If you go in under any of these other ones and there's no deadline indicated, like call that didn't actually have a deadline. Now I'm going to put a due date in there that says next week. Okay, now that will land under planned as well. This is just another view. And from here, you could add tasks due today as well. But this is where things get even better. Remember how I said I like to use the categories to indicate things that are important? If I go under planned and I pick these stars, again, very simple, common interface, and I pick a handful of these that I think are most important, now they're going to land under important. So now we have a sense of when things are due and how important they are to do. But that still doesn't say what should I focus on today. And Microsoft is spending a lot more time trying to help people get focused. So the My Day is the magical feature here, where you can right click on any of these that you want from any of the categories. They don't have to have landed under important to be added to my day. So I'm going to add up from a couple other spots. None of these emails have come in yet. All right, I'm going to add another one, add to my day. And now what happens, folks, is the key things that you have decided are the things that you have to do today are the only things that show up under my day. The magic is that they don't carry over to tomorrow. I want to hear mind blown from you, Eric. The reason for that is because what your priorities are today, if you've decided that this doesn't get done, tomorrow you start fresh. And the only downside is you can't set up what you need to do tomorrow a day in advance. Eric, what are you thinking about this?
I'm trying to actually understand the difference between, so I noticed that in your browser, this is shown as todo.office. I spend a lot of time in tasks.office. I'm wondering what the difference is so I can see my tasks. And what you're showing me looks a little bit different than what I've been used to. So I'm trying to see, oh gosh, where do I want to spend my time then? Sorry,
so
I keep asking these questions on the spot.
That's okay. They link together. So I went to the place that you mentioned. Here's the thing. It's frustrating because I'm going to try and cancel out of this. Microsoft freaking rebranded. This used to be planner.office.com. And planner was what we did for collaboration. And to do was what we did alone. And now they're calling this tasks by planner. It's very strange. And what they've done.
Get the planner app on the bottom to make things more confusing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. So again, keep in mind, some of this stuff is new and fresh and they're not consistent on it yet. So yes, even up at the top, it's called planner. But however, when you go into Teams and you want to add a tab to your team to do a plan, it's called tasks by planner and to do. Makes no sense.
Lots of influx right now. But to your point about things not carrying over, I'm a can kicker because I'm a procrastinator. So like that freaks me out. I wouldn't like that because I'm like, I'll wait to do things till I have to.
Well, but here's the thing. You don't need to, it's still going to land under planned when you had it set for a deadline, and it's still going to land under important. So, it's not a problem. Okay, so can you add colors to the category sections? Yes. Okay, I want to make sure I'm going to talk to that like when we talk specifically of categories in Outlook. So please feel free that, confirm that we're looking at Outlook specifically. You can add colors when you go to categorize, go to where it says all categories. So be careful. Too many colors can add to color confusion, but there's actually a palette of 25 more colors that you could add. I hope I didn't just open up a can of worms there, but You can. And one of the things for me is like on my calendar, I actually like to use green indicating things that I'm doing where I get paid. And on another thing, I like to use green for the low priority. I just have green as more than one thing. So then I know if I'm in my calendar, it means this. And if I'm in my tasks, it means that. And I don't have to have all those extra colors floating around. But to each his own on that. So good question. And again, if there's any more on that, let me know. So the real difference here is that they've integrated the Planner Hub with some of the tasks. It's in theory, I still think they should be kept separate, but in Teams, they've brought it together. It's weird.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure how I feel about it just yet, but I am working with both a little bit, mostly with planner tasks by planner. Is where I'm spending a lot of time, because I'll get email notification that, hey, this is coming up, or hey, this is overdue. So it'll drag me back in there, and then I'll filter by my tasks. So that'll show me all of the tasks that I've been assigned across all of the different buckets for all the different teams that I'm on. So it's nice to know, okay, what do I need to get done today, or what can I get done today? And I'll cherry pick things until I have to get to the hard stuff.
You know, you're supposed to eat the elephant first thing in the morning, Eric. But we can't solve all those problems right now. One thing to note is that you guys have been seeing me access some of this stuff going through my web browser, which is one option. But you also have the option to access some of this stuff directly in Teams. So you don't have to leave the Teams interface. When you go to these 3 extra dots, click on Tasks by Planner and To Do. And that pulls a lot of that stuff together. The biggest opportunity we have is that when you're on multiple teams and you're being assigned a bunch of tasks in a variety of different plans, you need one place to come all together in that. And that's the biggest, challenge that I see, is that I want to look to assigned to me and see, I don't care what team it is, I want to know everything, and then I want to be able to look at my due date right there and adjust from there. Okay. Wow, we have like 5 minutes left. I want to make sure we are wrapping up on time. And I want to make sure that if we have any other questions, we can get to those. Eric I have one other thing I definitely want to show, but then, we're going to have some questions as well. How about that? I'll show my last fun thing.
Sounds good.
So many fun things. Okay, so when you're in a PowerPoint and you have all these PowerPoint slides set up for the day, and you're like, okay, so now we have to figure out break time. And there's some really cool applications out there to put breaks in a PowerPoint. However, slowly loading for me now. Wow, this is taking a second. Give it a second to catch up. When you need to change your break time on the fly, there's really no good way to do that if you've already set your timers up. But wait, here's a new add-in. And again, I want to encourage you guys to start looking at add-ins to solve some of these problems, rather than just going out on the web to find it. So the add-in for PowerPoint to help you organize your break time is called Break Time. And we're going to hit add and get that put in, and I'll show you what it looks like. So what's really nice about this is, taking a second to spin, it's going to be customizable. Wow. Okay, I'm going to close a couple windows and see if it can catch up a little bit for me.
I see it's doing something on the left
there.
So
yep, I do see that. Let's do a new slide and see if we can go back to it. It's stuck. Try one more thing.
Yeah, I know you're in a lot of different.
Yep, a lot of different windows.
Sessions. Yep.
Okay, so here's what the break time slide can do for you, though, is right on the fly. You can customize a theme, like coffee break, tea break, whatever, exercise break. You can change the time just like that and put it on your slide and have it be a countdown timer for you. So rather than having to have everybody check their watch, have that time floating right up on the screen. Okay, I'm going to call it. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. We're going to leave it for any other questions that we have. What do you think, Eric?
I think you covered it really well. We could probably do this for like 4 hours. There's just so much depth. And this is, hopefully there's some value and some practical takeaways for everybody. But if you want to learn more, you're going to need to reach out to Jennifer and maybe engage that way too. So I don't know, Jennifer, if you would like to share some of your information, we'll do that on our follow-up communication as well for folks that might be interested in learning more, having training sessions for their companies and things like that to reach out to you, because you've barely scratched the surface today.
And you know what? I think what we really learn as well is that we don't know what others don't know, right? We know how we use it and we expect that other people use it like we do, and we just don't know. So if you want some help with that, I dropped my email and my scheduling link to schedule some time with me in chat.
Perfect, brilliant. And then I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and hopefully it works. I was having some troubles earlier on. I only need it for a minute to be effective here, but SWCTech does have a few more events on the horizon. So next week, we're going to be at a trade show for a manufacturing convention at the State Fairgrounds in Milwaukee, Wisconsin here. But then after that, on October 14th, we're going to be doing a presentation with the Better Business Bureau. So it's actually through their platform. We're just going to show up and they're going to, kind of like you did with us today, they're going to man all the switches and knobs and dials. But October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month, so we're trying to do as much as we can there. We're going to talk about how to level up your cybersecurity if you're a small business, and we have some very practical ways that you can do that. And then at the end of October at the Brookfield Conference Center here, not far from our office, we're doing a cybersecurity think tank where we have 6 different panelists from different areas of business that are going to sound off through a Q&A seminar on how they see things from their seat from a cybersecurity perspective, and how they're thwarting attacks and how businesses can learn from that. So it'll be in the morning, there'll be breakfast, there'll be coffee, and some really smart people that have a lot of experience in dealing with these things. So if you want to register for that, you can go head over to swctech.com and click on our resources, and we have an events page you can go to sign up and register. The event is also live on Eventbrite. And that's what I have. I don't have anything else. I don't see any other questions that have come through just yet if I'm looking. So no new ones published. We appreciate everybody that took time to hang out with us today. You will see some follow-up communication from us about how'd you like the event, as well as a on-demand recording of this. So if we went too fast, you could slow it down and rewatch it and things like that and share with others.
Thanks, Eric. I appreciate being able to share with folks today.
Absolutely. Everybody that joined, thanks so much, and enjoy the rest of your day and week. Bye.